Hey team, happy Saturday. Trust everybody's doing okay. Just making sure the audio works. It's been one hell of a week. I just want to catch up with you all and give you a quick update as to what I see in the marketplace. So let's just jump in. There it is. Let me see. Yes, we got audio. Good. I'm on my own today, so nobody to make sure everything's working. So anyway, thank you all for being here. Happy Saturday. Hope you're all getting some time to enjoy the weekend. So this is about hold on a second. Whoop, slides aren't pumping. My key isn't working. Yes, it is. Okay, channel's about math, money, and freedom. And none of this is financial advice. And the story today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin adoption, oil, real estate, gold, inflation, options, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Kwon, humility, very, very important lesson for us all, macro outlook, and a whole bunch more. So let's go. First of all, let's look at volatility. Big thank you to Sanjay as well for sharing this with me. It sparked my interest. It's a volatility compared over a decade between four major classes of assets. I got Bitcoin, oil, gold, and real estate. So the Bitcoin is in the teal color. Oil is in the green color. Real estate is in that little goldy color. And gold is in the red color, which is a bizarre color for gold. Anyway, it's funny, they should have chosen the real estate color for gold and flipped them up, but that's a separate issue. One thing to note here very quickly is obviously Bitcoin is the most volatile asset, with the exception of oil, that overtook it back in early 2016 and early 2020. So that is interesting to see. But let's dig in and see how these assets compare over the last 10 years. I thought this was interesting. So the basic summary is go long volatility. Over the same period since 2012, Bitcoin's up over 32,000%. Housing came in second place, up over 110%. Gold and oil are both up exactly 13% in that exact same time frame. So the moral of the story is, ladies and gentlemen, volatility is a good place to be, a good place to go. So let's talk about the next thing. Domino's adoption. In Domino news, Emirates Airlines issued a report saying that its entry into the digital asset space is going to allow people to pay for their tickets with Bitcoin, and they're also going to do something with NFTs as well. Super, super interesting. But again, this is not the story. The real story, the bigger picture, you always have to look behind kind of the news, is this. The bigger picture is countries are moving away from the dollar, hence the desperation to have a strong dollar. The US is nervous. Note also, with the inflation environment we have, the stronger the dollar, the more it reduces the price of imported goods. And of course, the US has a huge trade deficit, as does Europe. And this in turn forces down the price of higher priced equivalent domestically produced goods, bringing down inflation. Therefore, it's key for the US to have a strong dollar. A weak dollar now would absolutely crush inflation. It would go into double digits real fast, although we know in reality it already is in double digits. So next point is option action. You ladies and gentlemen know I look at a lot of this to try and get a feel for where things have gone now. We've gone through an ecliptic last 1 or 2 weeks. So the stuff that these charts predicted back in early April were off. Basically, all of the options action was telling us pretty clearly that we're going to get a $50,000 Bitcoin. That did not happen. We got to 48,000. We got real close, but then it fell down. Let's look at this option action here. And a couple of things you can point out. Number one, the put to call ratio is 0.74, which is interesting. It's kind of middle of the road where it hovers around most of the time. The max pain out 2 weeks towards the end of this month, end of May, is 36K on expiration. That's where the big bets are going, ladies and gentlemen. The current price of Bitcoin as we speak right now is 29,500. We had a run up to 30,000 and it sold off immediately. Remember, weekends are when there is most volatility. But you can see a lot of the big bets out, still at 50, 60K for the Bitcoin option action. And there was a ton of bullish action on Deribit as well and other options platforms. That's interesting. Let's compare this to Ethereum and see how that stacks up. So the Ethereum option action, you can see the put call ratio, I was going to say Bitcoin, put call ratio is parity. The pain level is $2,700 in 2 weeks, which is a lot higher from where we are now, just over $2,000. That's interesting. But the put call ratio of parity of 0.93 is a bit scary. And a lot of people still have big bets going down south, which is not good. Not good, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's look at Solana option action and see how that compares. This was fascinating. So Solana's trading at $50 right now. Yes, it got beaten to death, but so did every other asset out there. If you look at the poor people who have Dogecoin, went from 75 cents to single digits. So that's a big hit. Solana's down from where it was trading a month ago. A big chunk. But again, everything is beaten to hell. But what's interesting about this is the put call ratio is 0.51, which is normally extremely bullish. That means most of the bets are being placed on the call side. And you can see the strikes for the calls here, all very high, up around 70, 75, 80, and as high as 100 and 120. Not saying it's going to go there in 2 weeks, but the max pain price is 65. So let's see how all of these compare and stack up. And you've never seen this table from me before, but it's new. And this is kind of the things I look at. One is the put call ratio of how they compare across the different assets. Bitcoin is middle of the road at 0.74. Ethereum is very high, 0.93, which means nearly as many people are buying puts as they're buying calls. And that is typically not a good sign. And Solana is 0.51, which means there's double the amount of call buying than put buying. The max pain price, $36K, $2,700, and $65. Compare that to the current price, you can see the upside. The upside battle is won by Ethereum at 33% upside over the next 2 weeks based on this option action. And Bitcoin has 22% upside. So we'll see where it all goes. It'll be interesting to revisit this in exactly 2 weeks and see what happens. Now, in other adoption news, there was an article flying around, which I didn't cover this week, but a couple of days ago it came out, is will Russia actually trade oil for Bitcoin? And I think it was in Bitcoin magazine. And the truth is, we don't know if Russia, China, Turkey, etc. have enough rubles, yuan, lira to trade with Bitcoin or to make regular payments for the quantities of oil or gas that these large economies will be demanding. Again, the question is Bitcoin big enough? No, Bitcoin's under 600 billion right now, which means it is very small. It's a tiny, tiny asset compared to other global assets. And therefore, I'm very confident it's going to be $1 trillion asset, then a $2 trillion asset, $5 trillion asset, $10 trillion asset. It's just about a game of patience and waiting and stacking as you wait, in my opinion. But there will come a day where Bitcoin will be traded for oil. No doubt in my mind, people want to get away from the dollar hegemony. And I'm not saying anything bad about the US or dollar hegemony, but these other countries do not like using that as a basis for their assets, especially their assets that are very valuable commodities. Again, in summary, Bitcoin market is still too small to accommodate the financial demands of these big G20 countries to trade oil. But the day will come when it gets bigger. Now let's talk about some interesting history. I saw this on Twitter today, and that is Fortress Investment Group is shutting down its $2 billion flagship macro fund after a poor performance, succumbing to what its manager, Mike Novogratz, called the Darwinian nature of the hedge fund business, October 2015. Apparently, Galaxy has going to take a huge hit from their Luna holdings of the order of 300 million, maybe a lot more. The write-down, they got wiped. They didn't get out in time, as many others didn't. So let's talk about this, because this is an important lesson in psychology. Number one, Mike Novogratz, big respect to the guy, but he's probably the only guy on earth with both a Bitcoin and a Luna tattoo. And that's a big Luna tattoo. So the question is, maybe you paint over with, I don't know, Bitcoin or Tesla symbol. Who knows? But let's dig into the shadiness of Kwon. He went radio silent for about 3 days, which is not a good thing to do when you cost people billions and billions of dollars. And there is still 1.2 billion in Bitcoin reserves that are unaccounted for by the Luna Foundation Guard. I've been watching this, I've been tracking it, and I wanted to turn up somewhere. I don't know what's going to happen. He might be putting it aside for himself to start his next stable coin, which is also going to be a Ponzi, which is also probably going to fail. Again, it's everybody got hurt by this. No ifs, ands, or buts. But one of the problems I have with him is he had zero humility. And digging into some of the history and his critics, he called people very bad names. He called people poor. And the message for everybody is, don't be arrogant. Be humble. Very, very important. And guys used to say years and years ago, great leaders find their humility and great investors find their humility. In fact, I'm quoted as saying that in a video on April 1st, 2021. So we'll see. But humble leaders ask for help. They don't pretend to know everything. Humble leaders admit mistakes and forgive mistakes. He should have come out and said something. Humble leaders adopt a growth mindset and are open to new ideas. He did try a few new ideas, but whatever. Humble leaders also put people first, investors first, their team first. He didn't do that. And a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's the news there. Now, one of the things that has me deeply concerned is there are people still degenning into Luna. Okay, a lot of people saying, oh, should I buy? Oh, it's cheap now. But the important thing, everybody, is to look at what has happened over the last week. I put together this little illustration because you see, if you go to CoinMarketCap, you can see, oh, Luna's up 290% over the last 24 hours. This is sucking in retail investors. Retail investors, please do not do this. This is garbage. It's crap. It's dead. It's not coming back. It's not going to be a phoenix from the flames. If you look at the Luna circulating supply as of May 1st, 2022, 345 million tokens. Today, it's 6.5 trillion tokens, okay? The supply has gone up 19,000 times, everybody. 19,000 times. For this to get back to $1 means the market cap would be 6.5 trillion, which is now about 6 times the total crypto market cap. It's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Be careful out there. Don't play with crazy money. Now, another way, the whole reason for this is a tweet by Alex Mashinsky. He, in his tweet poll, he said, Luna died by TradFi Shark. That's what I voted. Luna was a Ponzi. Yep. Anchor was a Ponzi. I said Anchor was a Ponzi. Luna is coming back. 28% of people out there from thousands of voters said it's coming back. And I want to warn you, it's not coming back. So be careful. Don't waste your money. Don't throw $100, $20, $50 at this. Yeah, you might be able to make 10, 20% in a couple of hours because it is very volatile, but it's not a hold by no stretch. Let's talk about the macro summary real quick. So out there in the markets, a hard landing is priced in. Stocks have been beaten to death. Look to the 10-year bond. That's an indication of what the long-term inflation expectation looks like. Now, one of the things many people aren't talking about is the PPI for April was 11%. Normally, that's a leading indicator for consumer price index. PPI, producer price index, 11% is huge. So that's also not a good sign. Recession is definitely here and stagflation will follow. I said this in a video, actually, it was 10 or 11 months ago that stagflation was going to follow, probably summer 2022. Looks like that's coming. Now stagflation will follow unless we get QE. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of months up to November elections. They need to get the economy back on track. They need to get the stock market back up. They need to make sure there is not a recession, because Democrats will be smashed if that is the case as they go forward. Now, this is from Mohammed El Arian, very, very smart fellow. He captured a screenshot of, I guess it's CNBC or something like that, or Bloomberg. But this is the amount that has been lost in the NASDAQ market cap over the last couple of weeks. It is a brutal downturn. .com bubble, 4.6 trillion. Global financial crisis, 2.3 trillion. C19 sell-off, 4.4 trillion. And this current decline, $7.6 trillion. The ones that are most important to take into account is comparing the C19 situation to the current decline, because the market caps were kind of equivalent. And you can see exactly how bad this is. It's double what C19 was. So let's look at the 10-year Treasury. As I mentioned, that's a good indicator to where long-term inflation is going to go and how it maps up. And again, big thank you to Sanjay for sending this to me this morning, but this is from Glassnode. Now, the bottom chart is 2015 to 2022. The top chart is 1968 to 1975, and it shows you the correlation between the stock market and the 10-year Treasury yield. Sometimes they go up in unison, sometimes they go against each other. But remember, people have to note here, it's a very different paradigm. Back then, rates were 8%. Today, they're 3%. These are historically low rates. This is a brand new paradigm. And although we may go a tad higher than 3%, it might hit 4%, that is it. If it goes higher than that, I think the market will crap out. And the key takeaway here is the stock market can still go up in inflationary environments and increasing yield environments. And that's the history lesson here for you all, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. I'll be back tomorrow with the live weekly Q&A where we address your top questions, and there's some doozies in there. So look forward to seeing you all, and then I'll take some questions as well from the audience. So thank you all. Happy weekend. Get some sun. I'm going to go out and water some plants, plant some trees, and do some weeding. So hope you all do the same. Bye all.